May I have the envelope, please? Thank you. The winner is The French Connection, Philip D'Antonio, producer.
Welcome back to The Better Half. I'm Bradley J. Halverson, and here with me, she's the Popeye to my Cloudy. It's Carly Corio. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Cloudy. How are you?
I'm good. If that doesn't make sense to anybody, you will learn over the course of the next hour. I don't know if you caught this, Carly, a little bit of some Oscar news that I saw, but starting in 2029, the Oscars will not be on ABC and instead will be on YouTube. YouTube has acquired the rights to the Academy Awards.
I do not like that.
Explain.
I don't know. YouTube just doesn't need that, but whatever. I have no control over it, and I don't want it to impact my life more than it needs to, which is 0%. So I don't know. I just to me, the Oscars are like something you watch on cable and you turn it on and it's on cable. It's all about the money, baby. So I hope that the Academy got a lot of money for this.
I feel like I only like it for accessibility. Like, we're living in a late age where people aren't really paying for cable anymore. And okay, YouTube, I have access to that. I even pay for premium, and so, although I imagine I still will get commercials during the 2029 Oscars.
Yeah.
But I think with this news and also knowing how Netflix acquired HBO, it really just feels like big radical things are happening and changes are coming that just makes you feel I feel like cable television is really dead. And this is another notch and sort of in that direction. And so I think that's the only thing that's what is going on in the landscape of broadcast television?
Yeah. And what's the world going to be like in 2029? Will there even be cable? I feel like there has to be some kind of cable, but I don't know. It's interesting too because of the big fight, negotiation, standoff that ABC, Hulu, all of them had with YouTube. I have YouTube TV and I didn't get ABC or ESPN or any of those channels for 2 weeks. So now this big deal comes where, you wonder if that was part of it.
And if we stay on our current trajectory with our release schedule, we will be covering that 2029 Oscars. It will be the 101st ceremony, if you can believe it. So.
That's crazy. I remember being a young kid and being oh, it's the 70-something. I'll be alive at the 100th Oscars. That'll be a big day. And we're getting there.
Yeah. And I mean, for ABC, they still get to have the 100th. And that's that would be not their final year. It could go back to ABC one day. But so, I mean, that's a good one to still have, though, to be oh, we're taking the 100th. So,
yeah. If any award show deserves to not be on TV, cable television, it would be the Oscars.
Yeah.
For any award show that doesn't involve TV to not be on cable. So
yeah.
I'm happy the rich people got richer in some capacity, I guess. That's just how the world's working right now. And somehow I continue to not get richer, but that's okay.
Yeah, I do find that frustrating. Well, let's go from the 101st ceremony to the 44th ceremony, because here we are talking today. The French Connection, released in 1971, directed by William Friedkin. It won Best Picture at the 44th Academy Awards, which took place on April 10th, 1972. And Carly, why don't you briefly tell us about this movie?
The French Connection is a gritty police drama portraying two tough New York City cops trying to intercept a huge heroin shipment coming in from France.
Love.
You always love those. And this one was I felt vague. Yeah. And every synopsis I looked up was either too detailed or too vague. So I went with this one because I feel as a viewer, you don't get very many details always before you watch a movie.
No, and I think a brief synopsis is apt for this movie because in terms of runtime, this is the shortest movie we have covered at 1 hour and 44 minutes. So
yes.
And it is very, for us in this podcast and our journey, this is a different genre. We have yet to sort of tap into this sort of gritty cop drama, mobsters, gangsters, whatever. And this is definitely a fast-paced, very plot-driven movie. And it really doesn't take the time at all to hold your hand or explain anything to you. All the guys look very much the same.
Yeah, yes. Oh my gosh.
And so, yeah, this movie is like shot out of a cannon. Like you just get dropped into it immediately. And then by the end, when it ends abruptly, and we'll get there, but it's sort of like, whoa. And you and I did watch this one together, and
Yep.
I'm eager to dive in and see how we feel about it ultimately. So,
Yeah, me too. I'm glad that we watched this, almost a week ago, and I'm glad I've had some time to let it marinate. I've also talked to some people about it, and a lot of people that were alive in the 70s, it was like a popular film, which Oscar winners aren't always like well known by everyone, or like big popular films that everyone goes to see. Let's dive in.
Let's do it. Yeah, because true to its title, we're gonna start in France. Okay.
The France.
The France. So we get plopped into Marseille, and we have every reason to believe this is kind of like present day, current time. It could be, this is based on a book which was like in the late 60s, so perhaps it's maybe a few years ago, but otherwise I would say it's around present day. And we really kind of get like, there's not even a lot of dialogue in this movie, and certainly there's not really in this like opening scene, where we're kind of watching this man follow another man through the streets of Marseille. And the man who's doing the following, we're going to learn eventually that this is a cop, this is a detective, and he is following this suspect, or this man, Pierre. And this really, I think, does set up what we're going to see a lot in this movie, which is a lot of like cops following other guys around, trying to do like different things to stay inconspicuous. And I would say they do a pretty terrible job every single time. Like you're
right. That really is the whole movie.
So we get it like right away. And again, I say they do a terrible job. And that's because this cop detective follows this Frenchman into like a dark alley, only to be like, surprise, bam. And that bam is not the sound of a man being ran over by two horses, but instead being shot in the face. Yeah. So this French man he's been following, Pierre, reveals that he knew he was being followed, pulls out a gun, shoots this detective.
Yeah.
And that's how this movie starts. And again, you're not given really any information as to who these two guys are. Why was this cop following the French guy? And actually, I still don't really know if I know the setup to it, but this is the way the movie works. And so we go from France to Brooklyn, New York, where most of the film is set here. And we're going to get introduced to our two main leads here, our two cop buddies. Mm-hmm. We have, what are their government names? Jimmy Doyle.
Jimmy Doyle is Popeye.
Yep. And then his buddy.
Buddy Russo. His buddy Russo is Cloudy.
Yes. So they go by these nicknames. I'm sure we're going to just reference them as Popeye and Cloudy. So Popeye here, played by Gene Hackman, who's really, I feel like the only actor I recognize who recently passed last year. But here he is not dead, much younger, and dressed as a Santa Claus on the streets of Brooklyn. Why? We don't really know.
No.
But he's like entertaining some kids out on the street. Meanwhile, his partner Cloudy heads inside this bar and starts sort of like casing the joint, roughing up some of the patrons, which causes one of the other guys in the bar to run out of there and start fleeing down the streets of Brooklyn, being pursued by Cloudy and by Popeye dressed as a Santa. And again, nothing is explained to us. We don't know why. And I don't even think the guy they're chasing is very important to anything else in the movie, but I do think this like sets up a couple of different things. One, Popeye and Cloudy. Popeye in particular, he is relentless in his pursuit of whatever it is he's pursuing. Like he's a man that I feel like loves the chase, loves going after things, has a hunch, wants to go after it. He's all about his hunches. And I think they're simply chasing this guy just because this guy chose to run. And they don't even know exactly why the guy is running, but they're going to chase him down and then interrogate him as to, well, you must be guilty because you ran from us kind of deal. So I think a few other things get established here. Like they eventually catch up to this guy. They like tackle him to the ground, and then like Popeye and Cloudy just like start kicking him. And so I think we're also being told that like our cop friends here are not the most like moralistic people. They're going to treat other human beings like garbage, and that is being shown here. And again, like, why are they even chasing him? What are they even trying to get out of this guy? It's not very clear, but obviously kind of an iconic way to start this movie in terms of Gene Hackman in a Santa suit just running down the streets. And this is like a 8-minute long segment of them just running. But I do think it sets up what we're supposed to know about Popeye in particular, I think, for the rest of the film. But yeah, him being in a Santa suit, I was like, this should have been our Christmas movie.
Yeah. Brad was like, we should have done this for our Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Actually, Brad, I did a little research and learned why he was in a Santa costume.
Okay.
The movie is based on 2 real life detectives, New York City detectives, and that is a tactic that they would use often, is this Santa suit. So I guess the 2 of them realized that they have become popular, or like, you know, known detectives. They have started to become noticed on the job. And so Popeye decided that I'm going to wear a Santa suit, especially in the winter, which this movie is set in the winter.
Yep.
I'm going to wear a Santa suit. And I guess one thing that they did is the Santa would like sing carols or interact with children at some point. And if he ever started singing Jingle Bells, then they knew something was up. And that told Cloudy to come over and that something was up. So that was this is a tactic that they used, and they said that they wanted to open the film with them in the Santa costume because that was one of the real Popeye and Cloudy's most popular things that they did. So they explained 0 of that in the movie ever. And so I think halfway through the movie, me and Brad were like, wait, why was he in a Santa costume again? So
no, that's a good point. And yeah, it certainly makes sense also, given, because I mean, like, we're often going to see Popeye and Cloudy just, again, constantly sort of like following suspects, doing stakeouts, sleeping in their cars, and then also sort of wearing disguises at certain points and just trying to, again, be inconspicuous to their cop nature, even though they very much look like cops if anyone were to just look at them. So let's cut back to France because, and again, the movie doesn't explain a whole lot to you. So thankfully to you, the listener, I'm going to explain what's going on here in France. But
we're so lucky to have you.
So we're going to be introduced to this rich French guy named Alain, Alain. And we're going to learn that Pierre, who was sort of that hitman guy in the beginning who shot the cop in Marseille, Pierre is tied to Elaine. Like, he works for Elaine, and so we do discover that connection, that French connection, right away. And and they are preparing. They're preparing for a trip. They're going to be heading to New York. They make several references to it. What the movie doesn't really explicitly state, but we're going to learn later, is that Elaine is really like within these, like, in this drug business, a bit of a drug lord, and his plan is to smuggle a lot of heroin into New York. And he's got a whole plan. He's going to hide the heroin inside this vehicle, and he's going to rely on this like actor guy who is unsuspecting, unknowing Henry to transport this vehicle to New York.
I think they call him Henri, but Henry. But you know that it's really
Henry
goes,
with an I.
So Henry works.
Henri. So they got a little bit of a fall guy here, right? Like, he's also going to go to New York to scout some locations for a film. Has no idea, just believes like Elaine is like a good friend, and he's doing him a favor by transporting at least one of these vehicles over to New York. But the vehicle does have heroin in it. So
I don't know, Brad. I feel like Henri did know that what he was doing was wrong. Or did you not get that thought? I got the feeling that he was like, okay, yeah, I'll help you smuggle this car. But I don't think he knew how wrong it was. Or do you get the feeling that he didn't even know he was doing something wrong?
You're right. I think the movie plays it a little ambiguous, but I got the impression that Henri, like, maybe has an idea of Elaine's reputation maybe in the world, and knows that Elaine's asking him a favor and doesn't want Henri to ask too many questions. And I think Henri's the kind of person that's like, the less I know, the better, basically. Like,
okay,
is maybe the vibe. So I think you're right. I think there's layers to it, but I think he keeps himself willfully ignorant as to like what's going on. But
okay,
that was kind of my vibe with it. But Henri is not really a huge character in the movie, so
no,
it's a little hard to get inside of his head, I think. But yeah, so that's the setup in France. They're going to be heading to New York and arriving soon. So we're going to cut back to Brooklyn, where Popeye and Cloudy, they're going to go to the bar to celebrate, you know, beating that guy up. I mean, Cloudy, much to my nature, is like, I want to go home. I'm tired. It's late. And Popeye's like, no, we need to go out. We need to have a drink. Popeye's a little bit more of a night owl. Doesn't really sleep. A little bit of a playboy. A little bit of a ladies' man. So they go to this night bar, and there's live music. It's very dark in there. And while Popeye and Cloudy are having drinks at the bar, Popeye just can't help but always be on the case, always be looking for the next thing, always looking for his next hunch. The man loves his hunches. He happens to look across the bar and he sees kind of a gathering of people sitting there. And who's important in the story is he sees Sal Boca there and his wife Angie.
Sal Boca.
But Sal, though, he's having a good night. He's meeting with all sorts of different people who are coming over the table, leaving, and very brazenly just like giving money to people, like seems to be loaded. And Popeye's like catching all of this. And it was like, hey, like the guys that he's talking with are just like known mobsters, known gangsters. And how does he have that much money? Cloudy's like, ugh, okay, fine. And so they decide for the rest of the night, they're going to go follow Sal Boca here. They're going to just follow him throughout the night. And honestly, I think they follow him for like a whole week. But it's kind of a long montage where they follow him to hotels, at different bars, at different places. And eventually they see Sal and Angie at this restaurant that they own that's conveniently called Sal and Angie's.
Sal and Angie's.
So...
Which I can't stress enough how much if I ever was fortunate enough to own a place, I would most definitely have my name in the title. So I respect the decision and loved it. What was the other? I feel like we just saw in the last movie, they named...
It was like Alfred's Wine and Spirits.
Yeah, Alfred's Wine and Spirits, exactly.
Really creative names for the businesses. And who knows, maybe this business in this movie is just a front for all their illegal dealings anyways. So they're like, just call it Sal and Angie's. Let's just put our name on it, even if it is a front.
Right. And I mean, they sold everything from like spaghetti to like gum. Like it was a true New York, like Italian bodega where they sold deli stuff and, you know, cigarettes. So I think it even said on the outside, like pasta, meat, cigarettes, gum. Like it just listed all the stuff they sell. A good cover up for all the dirty happenings.
Yeah. And again, this is sort of like, I feel like it's like a week-long sort of montage of them just, Popeye and Cloudy are across the street from this bodega restaurant, whatever you want to call it, kind of spying on the place. We see Cloudy inside this bodega diner place, like at one point, like flirting with Angie. And again, she has no idea that he's a cop. And so again, just more sort of hitting those beats of like them kind of doing like undercover work, disguises, casing, stakeouts, all that good stuff. So, and then they're paying attention to who's also arriving to Sal and Angie's. And they notice that there's a guy, this lawyer guy named Joel Weinstock, who shows up. And Popeye's like, well, I know that guy. He's like, he's got a bit of a record and he's like known for being a buyer in the drug business. So they feel like, for Popeye at least, like my hunch is still hunching. And now I feel like there's a connection here, not a French one, but there is some sort of connection here. So Popeye's starting to build up a case. And so the next time we see them, he enters this other bar and it's not great optics. It's like an all black bar and Popeye and Cloudy just come in there. Popeye's literally like, hey, shut up. It's me, Popeye, which is just so like I laughed.
He says, all right, Popeye's here.
Like, I'm sorry, the name Popeye is just so not threatening to me. Like, he said it in such a sort of commanding, like, hey, you know who I am. It's Popeye. But, like, it just...
The Terminator would have been, like, more threatening, but Popeye, okay.
Yeah, so he makes everybody get up from the bar, go stand by the wall, you know, hands up or whatever. And he really just slides his hand underneath, like, the bar and just, like, uncovers all these, like, taped little, like, canisters, all these little things that are filled with pills. Like, he found this crap so quickly, and there was so much of it, too, that I'm like... Wow, this was not very well concealed at all from the bar patrons.
And he obviously knew exactly where they were, exactly where to find it. Like he had been tipped off, obviously.
Yeah, so being a big asshole, Popeye is, and then he just points to this one guy and is like, you, hey, you. And this guy's like, what, who, me? And he's like, yeah, you, let's go. And he like grabs this one guy, seemingly random, and they go into like the men's bathroom, which was the nastiest, dirtiest, skankiest men's public restroom I've ever seen in my entire life. Really affirming my displeasure of ever having used a public restroom. And as soon as Popeye and this guy enter this bathroom, all pretense is dropped. Popeye's like, oh, hey, buddy. Hey, what's going on?
Oh, hey, what's up?
Oh, hey. Turns out all of this is like a performance. This is all an act. You know, Popeye is just trying to talk to this man who is clearly like an informant for the police, but, you know, can't expose that to all of his friends out there in the bar. So, but it's here that this man in the dirty bathroom tells Popeye that like, hey, a big operation has come in. A huge shipment of heroin is coming into the States. He doesn't know a lot of the details, but he knows like something big is going down. This is like Christmas Day for Popeye Santa here. This is all he needs to hear. And is confident that this is tied to Sal Boca and Angie and his hunch and Joel Weinstock, the lawyer guy that they've seen. And so he gets the information from this guy and then he's like, okay, where do you want it? And the guy's like, huh? And I was like, yeah, wait, what? What are we doing?
Brad got really excited.
I was like, yeah, where does he want it? But no, Popeye just needs to punch this guy in the face to make it look like he roughed him up a little bit. It was a real shakedown. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with all this information, Popeye and Cloudy then head to their boss. But this is played, and I'm sure, Carly, you have it noted down, but this is played by a guy named Eddie Egan, who this story is like based off of.
Yeah.
He's not even playing himself in this movie, of course, but he's playing their cop boss. Popeye and Cloudy, they're like, listen, boss, like we got a hunch. It's huge. Something is happening. We need a phone tap. We need a wiretap on Sal and Angie. We need to be listening to the conversations. Like we need to pursue this. And their boss is like, Popeye, fuck off. He's like, all you've had are hunches. You're like, you two are so successful, and yet everything you get is just very like low hanging fruit, like teenagers with weed kind of bust that you're making. Like, and Popeye's like, no, you don't understand. I love hunches. I hunch every day. I wake up and I hunch, and I brush my teeth and I hunch.
Brush my teeth with hunches.
Love hunching. Like, and this is a big one, a big hunch. And so the boss is like, okay, fine, and agrees to do a wiretap on Sal and Angie, but also forces them to work with these two like federal agents who they have to work with here. Federal agents are these two guys. Their last names are Molderig and Klein. Things are going to be tense between the boys. Okay. At one point I said the girls are going to be fighting because of course Popeye, he wants all the glory to himself, right? So there's going to be this natural tension between them feeling like we don't need the feds. This is our territory. Like this is my hunch. And the feds being like, hey, we're just kind of like trying to do our jobs. Can you like shut the fuck up? So it is these four boys, and they set up the wiretap and they start listening on their phone calls. And then we do need to cut back to our bad guy, Elaine, because he does arrive to New York City along with his assassin, his hitman, Pierre, and their maybe not so ignorant actor friend, Henry/Henri. So
Henry. And this big old car.
Yes, right. Like it's a big like kind of cargo ship kind of deal, right, that they're arriving on. And then the camera makes sure we really see that this car is being lifted up off the boat and being dropped off. Next we see like Elaine and Pierre. They're like at an auction, like a car auction. And again, not much is being explained to us, but we do see them at this like auction where just like these abandoned cars are being auctioned off. And we get the sense that Elaine has purchased another vehicle. But they are officially in New York now. The drugs are in New York. And we're going to learn pretty quickly that Sal and Angie are very much tied to this drug deal, this drug business. It is all tied together. So Popeye's hunch is correct. But before we pursue that further, though, Popeye, he's been so tense lately. He's been so stressed. He needs to let off a bit of steam. And we see him kind of driving around, and he spots a woman on a bike, a woman with bright red kinky boots.
And the camera awkwardly like zooms in on her.
Yes.
And we're like, okay. Me and Brad literally looked at each other like okay, what's... Okay, this girl's on a bike, and Brad he's like, what are those red boots? Those kinky boots? And then the way that it's shot, you just know this bike person is going to be part of the story. But then they cut away from her. So we're like, okay, maybe not.
Exactly right. Like we just kind of, you're right. Like the camera really lingered on her backside and her bright ass red boots that were very reminiscent of Ted Mosby's red cowboy boots and How I Met Your Mother, if you know. So.
Oh, yeah.
But you're right. We cut away to Cloudy, who is arriving at Popeye's apartment and knocking on his door. And Popeye's like, hey, come on in. And the door's not even open. So Cloudy has to like take out a credit card and do the whole, little credit card trick. And as soon as he opens the door, we see that girl's bike was propped up against the door, knocked over. So we were like, and Carly, I feel like you called it, like, oh, Kinky Boots is in there.
Oh, yeah.
And sure enough, like as Cloudy walks in, there's the red boots, on the floor. And
with her clothes.
And Popeye is laying there naked, although we don't see anything. He's got a blanket over him, but he's also like handcuffed. And Cloudy's like, what the actual fuck? And
Popeye's like, just get me out of this.
Yeah.
Just unlock it.
And while he does that, though, Cloudy looks down the hallway, and then there's Kinky Boots. There's naked lady. She's just there. She's got like a little bit of a towel, and she's like, eek! And she turns around. We do see...
You see a little bit of Kinky Boots' butt.
Yeah, and then she like runs to the room and closes the door, and we never see her ever again. We never see her leave that room.
Nope.
While the two men proceed to have like a 5-minute conversation out in the living room for the rest of the scene. So
about this very confidential case and what they're going to do next.
Yeah, very, very bizarre. They talk brazenly and openly about this case, whatever. And they still got the wiretap, and sometime later, once we're past the handcuff, weird sex, Kinky Boots scene, they do finally get a hit on the wiretap. So they listen to a conversation, I believe with Sal, where they're talking about a meeting happening on this day at noon. And so the boys are all excited. You know, the boys get together. They're like, oh my God, this is it, our big break. Eventually, so one of the Fed guys, Klein, I believe, he's got an eye on Sal. They're like, again, on the streets of Brooklyn. And eventually the other three guys all join up. So we see Popeye. Everybody's sort of, again, they're trying to say as incognito as possible. But to me, I feel like they do a terrible job at this. Like Sal will be standing at like a corner shop window looking in, and like Popeye's just like on the other side of the corner. Clearly you could see through the glass.
See him looking.
Yeah. And this kind of goes on for a while, but eventually Sal meets up with Elaine, our French baddie here. And Popeye catches this, and so instead of following Sal, Popeye begins to follow Elaine here and Pierre, where really they just they walk around for a little bit, and then they go to a restaurant, and then they like eat for hours. And this film, we should also say, like, I think tries to act the way that the director, William Friedkin, directed this. I think it was very much sort of like shaky camera, documentary, sort of like kind of immerse you in the world. So it's funny, the camera would be in the restaurant on these two French guys eating, and then like the camera would then pan up a little bit and then zoom in on Popeye across the street, just standing there, like watching them. So Popeye, I feel like, stands outside in the cold for a very long time watching these two guys. So, and eventually follows Elaine to wherever his hotel is. And so now he knows where Elaine's going to be staying, but he can't very well just find the room or go in there, but it's enough to know where this guy is staying.
So they can stake him out like they always do.
So again, like, I just want to reemphasize for like Popeye, like, he is relentless here. Like at one point, I think one of the Fed guys, or maybe Cloudy, was like, have you slept at all? And he's like, no. Popeye, like, does not take care of himself. We never hear him mention a wife or family. We get the sense that he's truly just like this like single guy who just like left to work. At one point, I was like, is that you, Carly? I was like, yeah, but like, why is he doing all this? Like, what's his motivation?
I wrote this down. Brad said, he's been outside all day. He obviously has no wife or family. Why does he care so much? And then you took like a beat and you said, about his job. And I was like, it's his job. And you're like, yeah, okay. And then you just kind of like stumbled. And you're like, okay. Yeah, but like, why does he care so much?
But what's his motivation? Yeah, I can't relate to this feeling at all of
commitment to your work.
So Popeye now knows, he doesn't really know Elaine's name, but he knows what he looks like. He knows where he's staying. And so we do cut away from all of them, and we stop in with Sal, his evil lawyer friend, Joel Weinstock. They are somewhere, but they're with a chemist guy who is testing the purity of this heroin. And so
it's a very Breaking Bad-ish scene. When we opened the scene on him, Brad said, who's this twink?
Yeah, it was a very just like skinny, kind of nerdy, but like kind of skeevy looking, like just like an evil scientist. Great casting there.
Well, and they're like testing the drugs, and I actually read online, and I don't know how real this is because I think it's kind of bonkers if it is, but somebody said they used real heroin for this scene.
Wow, that would be
I know, they're like
bonkers.
Instead of like flour or something that they used real heroin. I'm like, that's just like a little much, you know? But who knows? It was on IMDb, so who am I to not believe it? Yeah,
the director is like, the audiences will know if it's not real heroin. We gotta get the real thing, and they'll know. They'll call us out on Reddit.
Well, and they're right, and they're on Reddit. They're like testing it for like purity, and like, I don't know, they couldn't have, maybe they didn't know they could like fake the test, or I don't know. They just really committed to the art of drug testing if they really did use real heroin. But I did read it, so I thought I would bring it up. Yeah, and apparently it's like 89% pure, which they could have told me any number and I would have been like, okay, but like, so I guess it's like really good stuff. It's almost like 100%. I almost got an A- there. So, yeah. But Sal Bolka and Joel, the lawyer, really liked it.
Right,
They're
yeah.
pumped.
So yeah, they're very excited. Sal's really antsy though. He was like, "Look, I feel like I'm being followed. I feel like the cops are on us. I want to get this drug deal done and over with. Let's just get this show on the road." But it's the lawyer Joel who's like, "No, take some time." Really bad advice given what we're going to know for the rest of the movie, but he was like, "Take your time. Like nothing bad's going to happen. Like it's cool. It's going to be fine."
I know my body, dude.
I go up to the line, I scale it back.
Scale it back.
So Sal's like, "Okie dokie then. I trust you." So they're gonna wait to do this drug deal, which gives Popeye plenty of time to stake out that hotel, outside the entrance, and wait for Elaine to emerge so he can follow him and, bust up this drug operation that he has a hunch about. And sure enough, Elaine does exit the hotel and Popeye pursues him. And Carly, you called it. You're like, Elaine knows he's being followed. Like there was just something. I just don't think Popeye was very careful here. I don't know if it was his own sort of ambition or pride or ego, or that he was like, "I'm just such a good cop, he'll never see me."
Yeah, he just so wasn't. And you can just tell by the way Elaine's moving and acting. I said, Elaine has cracked the case. He knows.
This is all leading to probably like Carly, yours and I's like favorite scene of this movie where Elaine's gonna duck down to the subway station. Popeye is following him, and so we see Elaine get on the subway, and so Popeye goes like one car over, also hops on, and then Elaine seemingly changes her mind, gets off the subway, and so Popeye gets off the subway and pretends to take a phone call at a phone booth while Elaine sort of like sipping a coffee, walks over to this little like, again, another kind of like bodega, little shop that's there in the subway tunnel. So Popeye also like goes like 2 seats over at this place. Again, very fucking obvious. And then Elaine's like, do. Okay, I'm ready to get back on the subway. Gets back on the subway car. Popeye hurriedly gets back onto the subway. As soon as he does, Elaine gets off the subway. Popeye gets off the subway.
It was very cat and mouse without looking at each other, and it was as a viewer, it was very comedic and fun to watch.
Yes.
But you're kind of like, this guy's doing so bad at this. Why is he doing this?
No, it was so cringy, and like you just know like Elaine's messing with him, right? Like he's getting off to like pretend or like to throw something away. Then he takes a beat and then he gets back on, and then Popeye is all turned around, and the camera work is so good because it's like it's basically on the 2 doors. So you see the one guy step off the subway, Popeye steps off, and then Elaine steps back onto the subway. And Elaine gets the upper hand here. He manages to get on that subway as the doors close. Popeye goes right up to those subway doors, and he's like, "God damn it!" And Elaine just has this very fun little finger wave to him through the doors as the subway takes off to Washington, D.C., apparently.
It was a really cool ending. Throughout the whole scene, they both know about each other, but they never acknowledged each other. And then this little ending after, as a viewer, you've been kind of on this chase with them. It was a really cool ending to the scene. Yeah,
very, very fun sort of choreography to the scene and how they pull it off. And for Popeye, it's a bit of a cue that like this is not his typical sort of like low-hanging fruit stuff. Like Elaine is a professional, okay? He knows what
you might actually have to be better at what you're doing. You might actually have to hide.
Yeah. Things are going to lead quickly to probably the movie's most iconic scene here, but Elaine's going to like stop down in Washington, D.C. Sal joins him up there. Sal's like, "Why are we here? The cops are all after us." And Elaine's like, "Don't worry about the cops. We're going to do business. Don't worry about it." And on the flight back, Elaine and Pierre, his hitman, they have a conversation. And Pierre's like, "This Popeye guy, he's a problem, and I could take care of it." And Elaine's like, "I don't know." And we're kind of like left on a cliffhanger there.
At the end, I think the last thing they said is Pierre says, "Let me handle him." And then me and you synchronized, gasped. We were both like, at the exact same time. It was so funny.
And so, so we're left on a little like, but we don't see Elaine sort of say like, "Execute, go ahead, green light." So this begins and we did rewind and to look this up, but it is like a 10-minute long segment of the movie from start to finish. Yep. And I think it has to be the most iconic part of the film, the thing it's most known for. And it begins with Popeye just walking around, kind of around these like apartment buildings kind of deal. And he talks to this woman who has a baby with a stroller. And because this is a Best Picture winner, the woman is gunned down right in front of him. So we never saw this woman, never saw her face, but suddenly someone is is shooting out in the public, and Popeye is activated immediately, looks up, and Pierre is up on this rooftop with a sniper rifle and coming after Popeye. So very sort of tense exchange where Popeye eventually like gets into the building, goes up to the rooftop, but by the time he gets there, Pierre is gone, left the gun behind, left like casings behind. And anyone else would be like, well, I guess that's it then. But Popeye's like,
Phew, I'm safe.
Popeye sees Pierre somewhere and gives chase. And for Pierre, he's going to run to this sort of, I think I had to ask you this too. Like, is it a subway when it's above ground? But it is like one of those above ground subway steel train car things. And so Pierre's running up there. Popeye's giving chase, kind of loses sight of Pierre at some point because he's actually like on the other side of the tracks getting onto this like above ground subway, getting onto the car, and the subway is taking off. And Popeye from his side is like shouting towards the subway, like, stop that guy, stop him, whatever. And there is like a cop guy subway guard. I don't know, do they have those? There is somebody inside.
Yes.
Subway guard. He does kind of hear this. He hears this yelling from Popeye, catches eyes with Pierre, can clearly see that he's a sketchy French man who's acting very sus. And again, you would think like Popeye, as the subway is taking off, and you would think like, oh, damn, I lost him. Nope, not good enough for Popeye. He's going to head back down to the street level. He's going to commandeer a vehicle from a random stranger, take their vehicle, and then drive it basically underneath the subway as it's moving. Meanwhile, Pierre, on the subway, shoots the subway guard guy, goes to the front of the car, and forces the like driver... conductor? I don't know
Conductor,
trains.
yeah.
Forces him to open the door, holds him at gunpoint. We learn his name is Coke.
Coke.
I just saw that his real name is Coke too. He's like playing himself, this actor.
Yes. And he was actually a subway conductor. I read somewhere that the actor that they had that day like didn't show up, so they got permission to use this guy, and he was already like in SAG or something. So
wow.
Yeah, big day for Coke.
Yeah. Big day for Coke, not a sponsor. And so, but he's not having a great day here. So Pierre's got this gun aimed at his head and says, don't stop at the next stop. You need to keep going. And Coke's like, but that's against train regulations. I can't do that. But he does indeed go blow past the stops. Meanwhile, like Popeye is on the street heading in the same direction, but like also like streetwise, like going in the wrong direction. Like he is dodging other vehicles, another woman with baby in a stroller. Like every woman with her baby in a stroller is out on the street today. It's unbelievable.
Like, shoo, shoo, shoo. Baby and stroller. Shoo, shoo, shoo.
Yeah. And all of this is very tense. It's very much, and like Popeye, like I still can't believe like the last movie we talked about, a man gets ran over by horses. But like here, Popeye is driving so erratically and manages to hit nobody. Like, I don't know about that. And so up on the subway car, like the subway is blowing past all the stops because of course, Pierre has taken this thing hostage. So a group of like burly men come together. They're like, hey, something is wrong here. This subway is going past all the stops. And so they get up to the front of the car and then they kind of force Pierre to confront them. Pierre shoots one of these burly guys, and it causes Coke to apparently have a heart attack and die at the wheel.
Have a heart attack. You just see him kind of like stop doing stuff. He falls.
Yeah.
So then at that point, because I think Coke had locked himself into the conductor room, and so then nobody's controlling the train.
Yep, and it crashes into
a parked train.
Yes, yep. A parked train that's in front of it. So, of course, I guess the film couldn't afford to show us those visuals, so we just kind of like, we just hear the crash, and then we see like the subway car like shake. Yeah.
And then a bunch of people just dive forward.
They're like, ah!
And that's end scene.
And so Pierre, with like just a little scratch on his forehead from all that, gets off of the subway car. He's at the top of the stairs, right, heading down to the street at the same time that like Popeye has gone out of his vehicle, has caught up to this subway wreck. He's at the bottom of the stairs, gun pointed upwards. This is on the poster of this movie. This is, I have to imagine, an iconic sort of image. And it is very tense. These two men are staring at each other. And Pierre turns around and Popeye shoots him in the back. Don't feel like that follows cop regulations, but...
I don't know. He just caused so much destruction. I feel like...
Yeah, okay, fine.
And I mean, I feel like he's fine.
Yeah, he shoots him in the back. He falls down those stairs. He has this very dramatic, like, arms flopped out. And Carly, we have to mention the blood in this movie. We have to...
100%. I was about to if you didn't.
Would you like to describe the blood?
Every time someone's shot, they have some bright red paint-looking liquid that splashes out of them.
Yes.
And I know this is the early 70s, but I'm sure there's a better blood
Yes.
replacement for whatever they were using. It really looked like, I don't know, like a bright red sludge.
Yes.
Looked nothing like blood, and it actually looked like as thick as paint.
Yes.
And it was unbelievable how fake it looked. And every time anybody dies in this movie or is shot, you see this fake blood splash.
It really just kind of took me out of the moment. So it was hard to like be in this dramatic moment when it just looks like Pierre, our French guy, is like covered in glow in the dark red paint. But yeah, so this whole chase scene, I think for 1971, this was probably like amazing. And I think it was really well done. I would have liked to have seen sort of like the actual subway like wreck or whatever, but I understand they didn't have the budget for that.
I did read like at this time in filmmaking, this was such a huge thing and people were like amazed, and it was so well known for this 10-minute scene.
Yeah.
I also read that they did not get approval from like New York City to close any streets. As the producers and things, they would have to shut down like 5 blocks at a time.
Oh my
and
God.
So it was like just a constant like production, but they shot this whole thing in one day, which I feel like now you think, which I get for the time, and especially if you don't have any like licenses or permits or anything, but I feel like in general you hear of these like big scenes in movies now, like we shot this, it took us a whole week to shoot this, and the fact that they did all of this in one day and the logistics of not having things already blocked off, it's just crazy. Like it was obviously a very big scene, and it turned out, like you said, it was very well done. I was very impressed.
Yeah, no, it feels, and again, this is sort of shot documentary style almost, right? So everything just had like a very like practical feel to it, and yeah, it was certainly thrilling. So
yeah.
And when this ended, Carly, you and I couldn't believe it. They're like, wait, there's like 20 minutes left in this movie. Like, what is was that the climax of the whole movie?
Happen?
Let's get to the actual climax in the movie here. Popeye, Cloudy, and the Fed agents, they find out about the car that supposedly has all the drugs in it. They know where it's parked, and they stake it out, hoping that Sal or Elaine would return to the car so that they can bust this up. That's a bit of a goose egg. The only people that show up were these like guys that trying to like take the tires or whatever. So they decide, never mind, we're going to impound this car. We're going to take it in. We're going to find the drugs ourselves. It's got to be in the car somewhere. And so this was kind of bizarre, Carly, but we watched these guys tear this car apart, like ripping, breaking, shattering, just like tearing this car apart looking for these drugs. Everything.
Every part of the car. They took knives and like cut open all the lining. They took everything apart. It was like a whole team.
They gutted it.
Yes.
And they're not finding anything. And so
the whole time you see Popeye sitting there like biting his nails, like nervous, like again, his hunches has brought him here. And along the movie you see his boss being like, nothing's coming of this, like starting to lose faith in this whole thing. And he's like, you've caused all this destruction and nothing has come from it. So this is kind of Popeye's last big like Hail Mary is like, we got to take this car apart. So you see him nervous as these car people are taking apart all this stuff. And it is a cool scene to watch. It kind of reminded me of in Around the World in 80 Days when they start taking the whole boat apart and they like throw every single piece of the boat that they can into the fire.
Not Henrietta.
It's like you just see them. Henrietta. Yeah, they're taking it down to the bones.
Yeah.
And it turns up that they find nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, the car mechanic is like, dude, I'm a professional. I think I know cars, dude. I know my cars, dude.
I know my cars, dude.
There's no drugs in this car. And meanwhile, though, Henry, or Henri, if you're nasty, finds out that his car's been taken. This is why I kind of feel like you can really see it both ways. Like, is he just mad because it's his car and it was impounded and taken in? Or is he nervous that his car was taken because he knows it's filled with drugs? I kind of lean towards the former, that this Henri doesn't really, like, he's just mad that his car was like impounded and taken, and the car mechanic, like front desk guy, is like killing time here, stalling him, filibustering, like, yep, we're gonna get that car to you back anytime now. So Henri is there to like collect his car, and they still haven't found the drugs in the car yet. So a little bit of a ticking clock here. And so it's Cloudy who cracks the case. He's like looking at some papers and he's like, hey, like, how much does the car weigh right now? And so the auto mechanic rolls off this number. Cloudy's like, well, that can't be right. That's like, I don't even know what it was, like 40 pounds heavier than when the car was.
I think it was like 200 pounds.
Okay.
It was 200 pounds heavier than the manufacturer's weight that was given for the car.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. I'm like, it weighs 2 pounds more.
2 pounds.
And so...
Yeah, he's like, the car guy's like, no, I took apart every single part of this car aside from those side bumpers and the front bumper. I swear, every other part. They're like,
Popeye's
okay. So then they very quickly go to the side bumpers and front bumpers and
yes.
well.
Huge bricks of this 89% pure drugs. So they find it. And then this is like the most unbelievable thing of all time because seemingly 1 minute later, we're cutting back to Henry, who's still angry at the front desk, wants his car back. And the car mechanic's like, hey, I got your car for you. It's all ready to go. Here you go.
Oh, that car? I got it right here.
Oh, yeah. And seemingly it is brand new. Like never been touched, this car.
Every rip, every stone has been turned back over. They must have sewn everything back perfectly.
Yeah.
Like there's absolutely no way this happened really, unless they got an exact replica of this car.
Yes.
And I don't get it. This is the one part of the movie that I'll take fake blood all day, but the fact that they seemingly put this car back together in a way that Henri had no idea it was ripped apart is very hard to believe. So
I know, because it
lost a whole emoji for me.
Wow.
Because of this.
No, I totally get that. So yeah, they return Henri's car back to him in pristine condition, but we don't know about the drugs. We didn't actually, of course we saw them finding the drugs.
Right.
Suddenly cut to them just returning the car back to Henri, right? So this is the part of the movie we talked about it in the beginning when we were discussing how much does Henri know, but we do see a scene once Henri has the car. He has a scene with Elaine, who of course is relieved that the car is back, and this is where Elaine tells Henri like, hey, I need that car, no questions asked. Like this is where Henri pushes back a little bit and is like, what is going on? What is this about?
Yeah.
And Elaine's like, don't worry about it, but just know you're an accessory to it. Henri's like, okie dokie, I guess the less I know, the better.
But he did say, he's like, just know you're an accessory to it, but if it does go down well, you'll get a lot of money from it. So Henri's like, okay, whatever, just take my car.
Yep. So let's get to the climax. The big drug deal is going to go down. It's happening, like, Sal has like a brother who works at this, like, I think it's like Ward's Island or something like that in New York. So it's kind of this like desolate place, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, it looks like. So Sal and Elaine are there. They rip open the car again, the side bumpers, whatever, and they pull out all the drugs. And seemingly Popeye and them didn't remove any of the drugs. So,
and as the viewer, you're not sure what they're gonna find because you know where it is. It's kind of like covered up by some stuff. So like as a viewer, you kind of think maybe they're gonna uncover nothing or it's going to be like fake. And so I think even as a viewer, you're kind of like, what? It's all there? Like, what was all the hubbub about?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a cool scene to watch.
Yeah, because we don't know what the plan is. Like, we know that the cops have to have a plan here, but we haven't been told anything. So we just know, like, oh, like they left the drugs in the car. They didn't actually confiscate it. They didn't replace it because the evil scientist guy is there to test it again. And it is truly the drugs. It's all good to go. The deal goes down. And we said earlier in this recap that Elaine had, bought a car in an auction. That's because in the same hiding place in this new car, that's where they're putting all the money that they just got from Sal and from Joel Weinstock. And so they're loading up this new car. And that is what Elaine drives off in. He's like, nice doing business with you. So he drives off in his new car with his money, gets to this overpass. And as he gets over the crest of that little hill, boom, police barricade, police blockade, no way out. And who's at the front of it outside of his car? It's Popeye. And to Elaine, he gives a little finger wave.
The same exact kind of wave that Elaine had given him on the subway. It was cool.
So Elaine's like, son of a bitch. And then he Tokyo drifts out of there, reverses course, drives back to this like abandoned warehouse, this dirty, nasty place that the drug deal went down. Sal's still there and a lot of his guys are still there. And Elaine shows up followed by all these cop cars and everybody, the federal agents are there. Cloudy is there and it's pretty much mass chaos. Like Sal's men are shooting at the cops, vice versa. Popeye, he's locked in though. He is solely focused on getting to Elaine, who is escaping on foot, heading off into this like abandoned warehouse. But meanwhile, in the main action, we do see Cloudy does shoot Sal here. So that is the end of Sal's journey here, who should have done this drug deal like 3 days ago, like he wanted to. So Cloudy's a hero and goes after Popeye, who is still chasing Elaine into this warehouse. And so this is truly the end of the movie. Popeye, gun is out, got a crazy look in his eye, pretty reckless, like just shot out of a cannon. And at one point, Cloudy like pops up and he's like, "Hey, Popeye!" And Popeye nearly shoots him because he's so like on edge, and he's looking for Elaine, who he knows is in the building somewhere. So Cloudy's like, "Jesus, Popeye, like it's me, your buddy, named Buddy." So, but then Popeye does see like a shadowy figure, thinks it's Elaine, and just shoots at it. And they walk over to it, and we find out that Popeye has shot not Elaine, but one of the federal agents in the building, Mulderig. And Cloudy's like, "Oh my God, this is bad." Bro, that's like not good. And Popeye doesn't even take a moment. There's not even a single moment of him like taking this in. He goes after Elaine again.
Yep.
We see Popeye run into the next room. The camera doesn't follow him. We just see him kind of get engulfed into darkness as he pursues Elaine. And then we just hear a single gunshot, and then we fade to black. And then we get some title cards.
Yes. We thought it would fade back and give us more context or what happened next. But when it fades back, you just get title cards about what everyone's up to, like at the end of a true life movie kind of thing. Yeah.
We just basically get these freeze frame of the different characters and with like some tech, like two to three sentences of their fates. And so we learn that like Joel Weinstock, the lawyer, he's indicted, but the case gets dismissed. Angie Boca, this is Sal's wife, she gets a suspended sentence for an unspecified misdemeanor. Sal's brother, Lou, who we didn't really talk about, he gets a reduced sentence. Henri, he does end up serving 4 years in a federal penitentiary for conspiracy. So sucks for Henry. And then it says that Elaine, our French guy, was never caught and believed to be back in France. And then we're told Popeye and Cloudy were transferred out of the narcotics division and reassigned. And that is the end of the movie.
Which was nuts considering that Popeye just shot this detective in cold blood for seemingly no reason. And I don't know. I just feel like nowadays you are no longer a cop if you shoot someone for no good reason, especially one of your own. So I don't know. I was kind of surprised by that, but it's how it ends.
That's how it ends. And I've been thinking about this ending a lot, and I've been eager to discuss it with you. And I'm sure this will just blend straight into like our ratings and our rankings and all that jazz. But
yeah,
and you got this reaction, I think, for me, Carly, when we watched it live, but that was such an abrupt ending. Like normally, especially with these Best Picture winners, I would normally advocate for the movies to be 20 minutes shorter than what they actually are. This is the one time I actually wish this movie was maybe like 15 minutes longer than what we got.
Yeah.
Because the ending is just so bizarre. To see Popeye running off, we just hear a single gunshot. And you can't even say it's really an ambiguous ending why you just hear a single gunshot, because then the movie shows us these little title cards. And you basically tell us like, well, Elaine got away and he's back in France. And so that single gunshot you told us is not ambiguous, like that he just shot his gun again. And there is no sort of explicit resolution as to what about the federal agent's dead body, the man that Popeye killed accidentally over the course of this case. Obviously, they've been reassigned, which to me is context that like even though they were successful in busting up this drug operation, they were ultimately punished. They had to be reassigned due to, I assume, shooting a federal agent.
Right.
And that's their worst punishment. I was like, okay, I would hope that a deep investigation happened here as to how this happened and just Popeye's like recklessness. And I read too that the movie, wanted to portray how like this movie is like real life, right? Where it's like the bad guy does get away and the good guys, the cops, like, they can do bad things or whatever, or like not get the happy ending that they want. And listen, like it's 2026. We know cops are not always the good guys. We know that now.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's very bizarre to not see Elaine get away, like to visually just see it or show us that single gunshot. Like it just puts such importance on the gunshot. I don't know. So I found this movie ending to be way too abrupt and I didn't like it for that reason.
They also announced when they get to that abandoned house that Elaine and Sal had driven off to, they're like, the place is surrounded, you have nowhere to go, so it's one thing for Popeye to like lose him in the house as they're like running around chasing each other, but for Elaine just to get away and they're in the middle of nowhere, New York City, like it's hard to believe that he would get away. So yeah, I would have loved some more info on that.
Definitely agree. Yeah, how did Elaine even get back out of the country? How did he get back to France? So yeah, so those were my thoughts there. And overall, though, and this can lead to our ratings and the emoji we chose. We did consider using the Santa as the emoji for this film, but instead we were like, no, there's so many sort of like modes of transportation featured in this movie. We had, boats, cars, below ground subways, above ground subways. So we ultimately settled on the cop car emoji. I'll say this is the first time where I wish I could have given it a 0.5 and specifically a 3.5. I think when the movie ended, I was like solidly at a 3. I think in the week that we've taken and I've looked into the movie a little bit more, and there are things in the movie that I do appreciate and I do like. I really do like the little subway dance that Elaine and Popeye do. I do like the car chase scene. And in general, this is a genre that I enjoy. If I had to choose between like a cavalcade sort of story or a French Connection, like I'm going to naturally lean towards a French Connection. So something else I want to talk about too is like the French Connection seemed to have a huge impact on audiences. Like I think this kind of came out of nowhere, but it's clearly there's a reverence behind this film and it clearly had a huge impact. And when we look at like the next like 3 to 4 Best Picture winners after this movie, I think it really ushered in what the 70s are going to be kind of defined when it comes to cinema. Because it's like the year after this, The Godfather's going to win. And then The Sting. And then Godfather Part 2. And One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Like we're going to get these like really masculine, gritty, violent cop gangster mob stories. And I think the French Connection ushered that in. I think once it won, it set a tone. And I think the 70s in terms of Best Picture winners is really, it starts here. All that long-windedness to say, I think ultimately I'm going to keep my reputation as a 4 horror, and I'm moving it up to a 4. But I will say it's on the lower end of my 4s. I really don't like the ending. It's like, I get that it's based off a book, based off of real events, right? So it's like you can't always have that satisfying story conclusion, but you're also making a film. You're making, it needs to be entertaining, and it does have to be satisfying to audiences. But clearly they were satisfied regardless. I think for me, I needed a little bit more from the movies. So I'm giving it a 4.
Yeah.
Carly, what were your thoughts overall? What's your rating?
I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the second half of the movie, the more action-packed part of the movie a lot more.
Yeah.
I just feel like the first third of the movie was a little boring, but I think that's how movies have to be sometimes. Right after we watched this movie, I drove home and saw my parents and some other people, my parents' friends, and was talking about this movie, and they were all like, oh, loved that movie, loved it. So yeah, like you said, I feel like audiences really loved this movie, and contrary to a lot of Best Picture winners these days that aren't always widely seen or even loved, I feel like this is one of those like movies that was loved, and I appreciate that it was given the Best Picture. I like that. I'm interested to hear if I recognize any of the lesser half that you go over, but so yeah, I liked that. I liked the movie overall. I liked the New York City of it all.
Yeah.
I read that they didn't build any sets for this movie at all, so it's really like all just shot. They literally would go find a place in New York City and they would shoot it, and I think that was really cool. It felt very, like you said, with the shaky camera work, it was very documentary-esque, and I enjoyed that. But all that to say, I give it a 3 police car emoji. Yeah. I think I thought about a 4, but yeah, I stuck with the 3. I think it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I always think about this. If I saw it on TV, I might stick around and watch it, but I don't know if it's anything that I would write home to tell people to watch. Yeah. Unless they were really into these kind of movies. But I think it's a solid 3. I would say it's a higher 3, so close to your low 4, but yeah.
I respect that. Yeah. And that is very much how I felt. And yeah, I've sort of thought myself up to it, but I feel good with those overall.
The good parts of the movie were really good, and I do appreciate that. There was no way I was knocking it down to a 2. Yeah. So I really liked what the movie did right. They did really right, and I really liked it. So yeah, Brad, what would you say about this film being for the gays?
I laugh because I can't even consider for 1 second that this movie was for the gays. Like, I just can't.
Yeah.
This is the straightest man picture I've seen in a while. I mean, Cavalcade was gayer than this. Like, so many other things were gayer than this, and that's okay. It really is. Like, I do think, like, I'm certainly a gay man who still found things to like about the movie and enjoyed the movie enough. For that, thumbs down. And Carly, we were exposed to a plethora of strong female characters in this film who were all named and seen. And was that enough to put it for the girls?
Yeah, I mean, between Angie and Red Boots, I did think it had very strong female characters. But no, I don't think it's for the girls.
Yeah.
This movie is for anyone who just wants to see a chase or likes, the mobster-ness of it all, and the cop chase. The New York is cool, but no, I don't think it's for the girls. I wouldn't write about it in my girl blog,
Yeah, it's a movie where I feel like film bros would be like, this is one of the greatest cinematic achievements of all time, The French Connection. So I kind of put it in that category for me of film bros probably overhyped this movie way too much. And so I think it's for them.
And I'm sure in 1971, it was really, really cool.
Yes. Well, okay, we talked about low 4s, high 3s. How will that translate to where we rank this thing?
Yeah.
I want you to start, Carly. I want to know your ideas.
Okay. Yeah, I took a look before, and I feel comfortable with it being in C tier somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I could see it being in C tier somewhere, but if you think it needs to be higher than that, talk to me,
I'm waffling between two, and it's bottom of B tier or top of C tier.
Okay. I think that's exactly where I was thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good spot for it.
Because I think certainly, so our C tier right now is You Can't Take It With You, Nomadland, and Oliver, right?
Yep.
I do think The French Connection, I would put it above Nomadland. While I think Nomadland's a very sweet movie, also kind of a documentary-esque thing. Yeah. I think I almost want to reward French Connection.
I enjoyed this one more.
Yeah. So I would put it above that. And then it's hard because You Can't Take It With You is a story that I enjoyed more. I enjoyed the comedic elements of it. I had a fun time watching it as well. But it was from 1938. Not everything in that movie was super relevant either.
Yeah. And
so from a technical standpoint, I appreciate what The French Connection did more than You Can't Take It With You, which operated very much like a stage play, which it was based off of. So
yeah.
So that's why I was thinking kind of at least above You Can't Take It With You. And then it has maybe a B tier vibe to me, but
yeah.
So I'm open either way. I think.
I like either. In my mind, a second ago, I was like, bottom of B tier, I think makes sense. But now I'm kind of like you often will bring up character arcs when we're considering ranking. And, do you feel like a lot of character development happened throughout the movie?
No.
Yeah, is that something? Or, are there enough other good things that happen with the movie that it does deserve to be B tier?
You're right. This is definitely a plot-driven story. This is not really, I feel like I really had to think critically about Popeye as a character, what we were presented. The story doesn't really hit you over the head with Popeye's characterization, but I do think he is fascinating as a character in terms of his just relentless pursuit of the things that he's passionate about. But we don't know a lot about him otherwise. A lot of it you have to pick up on based on his behavior throughout the movie. So I appreciate thinking through that. But no, I would say nobody goes through a journey. Everybody starts the movie in one place and ends in the exact same place, which was a knock I gave to Chicago. So I think we do top of C tier, and I'm open to that possibly changing in the future as we talk about more and more films. But
so top of C tier, right above You Can't Take It With You, right below B tier, Terms of Endearment.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into the director and this year's Academy Awards, let's talk about the Rotten Tomatoes. We've mentioned several times that audiences gooned over this movie, just absolutely were gooped and gagged. And so I wonder how that translates into a Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah,
Do you want a clue?
Yeah.
Okay, we've seen this score before. It's not a new number.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a good clue anymore.
No, I actually was going to say this number.
Okay.
And it's on here. So I'm going to say 94.
A little short.
Really? It's higher.
97, if you can believe it.
Wow.
I think it's a little too
Good job,
high.
French Connection. Me too. I do. It's interesting. Okay, so I was looking up info on the sequel because there is a sequel to The French Connection.
Two French,
called
two Connection.
The French Connection. Two French, two Connection. It is called The French Connection 2. And I read the Roger Ebert review of that movie, and he gave it very high praise. So I was like, they probably gave it, the first one, even higher praise.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is very high. I mean, it's got to be one of our highest so far. It's equal with All the King's Men, which
was also too high for All the King's Men. And then I think it's just
way too high.
Parasite at 99 right now. So I do think it's our third highest rated movie, really tied for second.
Okay.
So that is what audience believed. I do want to talk about the director, William Friedkin, a little bit. We've actually mentioned him already, kind of indirectly, but speaking of All the King's Men, we talked about, what was her name? Melissa McCambridge. Carly, you told me that she had a voice acting role in a little indie movie called The Exorcist, directed by William Friedkin, this director. So he really is known for this movie, of course, The French Connection, which just is, spoiler alert, going to win a lot of awards. But yeah, he also directed The Exorcist, which horror film bros will tell you is the best cinematic achievement in the horror genre.
Wow.
I actually just watched during October last year. I did watch The Exorcist. I did not really recognize the voice acting work of our girl from All the King's Men, but his directing style, I would say he does a lot more Steadicam in The Exorcist, but it is very similar styles. He just passed away in 2023. He's directed other films that I took note only because I recognize them for being LGBTQ films, but he also directed a movie called Boys in the Band, which was also remade as a Netflix movie, I think in 2020. And he also did a kind of bizarre gay movie called Cruising, which stars Al Pacino, and it's kind of like a dark thriller. But I was like, oh, is William Friedkin gay? But no, he was married to 4 different women, so.
Super not gay, unless he just is confused, so popped around.
But hey, I can appreciate a straight director putting out some queer stories, because you wouldn't expect it. But in his career, his films in total, cumulative, have received 20 nominations at the Academy Awards and 7 wins.
It's kind of cool because I'm looking now, he did The French Connection and The Exorcist 2 years apart.
Right.
And I mean, ever since then, nothing's been as huge. I feel like those 2 movies are huge. And ever since then, he's definitely done good works that are familiar, but nothing huge. So early 70s were really big for Will. Yeah,
The Exorcist, I think we will talk about when it debuted. I believe it is nominated for Best Picture, but it does not win because the Academy hates horror films. But certainly he gets his acclaim here. So, and this will be the only time really we talk about him until we talk about The Exorcist in a future lesser half. So, but let's talk about his big night here at the 44th Academy Awards. This was hosted by 4 people, Carly.
What?
I know, 4 hosts. We have Helen Hayes, Alan King, Sammy Davis Jr., and I was very happy to see this name. Our man, Jack Lemmon, star of The Apartment, was the 4th
Oh my gosh,
host.
we love him.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of the pod.
Just a couple of quick things I noted about these 3 other hosts. We talked about Jack a lot, during our Apartment episode, but Helen Hayes, she is the first woman EGOT, second EGOT winner, period. So congrats to Helen.
Good job, Helen.
Alan King, the interesting thing I wrote here is that he is the bad guy in Rush Hour 2.
We love that movie.
Yeah. I was like, wait, Carly and I know Rush Hour 2.
Yeah.
And then Sammy Davis Jr. is significant. And I think we talked about this in our $1 Million Baby episode where Chris Rock hosted. But Sammy Davis Jr. is actually the first Black person to host the Academy Awards. And we had talked about the time that Chris Rock was one of the first solo Black people to actually host the Oscars, where Sammy Davis Jr. was a part of a group, was a co-host, but he is the first Black person to host the Academy Awards. So way to go, Sammy.
Wow.
And then Jack Nicholson, our man, presented Best Picture. So that is his voice you're hearing at the beginning of this recording. So, and I mean, the 70s are a big time for Jack Nicholson. And I think we mentioned it before, but he is one of the most nominated actors at the Academy Awards, period. So I think it's very unsurprising that he is here. In a few years, he's going to be in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So we're definitely going to, we have more Jack in the future. So, and then Carly, you were curious about the lesser half. I am also pleased to tell you, Carly, that there is just only 5 movies nominated in this category. So not 10, not 12, none of this ridiculousness that we've been dealing with lately, but just a nice, easy 5 films. So the first one is highly recognizable to me. I watched it in a film class. It is A Clockwork Orange, directed by Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, you love Stanley.
Yeah. I like Stanley. Okay. I will be a film bro about The Shining. I do really enjoy Stanley Kubrick's The Shining and tried to make you, Carly, watch it and you fell asleep.
Didn't he completely ruin that one woman's life?
Yes, Shelley Duvall.
Notoriously.
If
Yes.
there's like an iconic scene in The Shining and you were asleep by the time we got to it, Carly, when we watched it. But if you were to have actually stayed awake and watched that scene, he made her do that scene, which is a highly emotionally distressing scene. He made her do it like 100 times to just keep her in this like emotionally distressed place. And he had Jack Nicholson treat her like crap and all these things. And just to keep her in this sort of like headspace for the character, which not great.
Boo.
And even Stephen King doesn't like Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining. That's pretty well known, actually. But here in A Clockwork Orange, this movie has stayed with me. When I've only watched it the one time. I don't think I can revisit it. It's a very violent, distressing film where you're following basically this really bad guy who has like a cult, a gang, and they just go around breaking into people's home, murdering people, sexually assaulting them, and just for like 2 hours straight.
Yeesh.
Yeah, tough movie. I think it's based on a book, but I ain't gonna read it. It had 4 nominations this night, but 0 wins, so I guess the Academy wasn't that impressed with it either.
Felt the same.
Yeah, so Stanley Kubrick also nominated for Best Director, but yeah, does not take home any wins this night. So the next movie is Fiddler on the Roof. It had 8 nominations and 3 wins. It wins in cinema, music, and sound. Fiddler on the Roof, a musical, a classic at this point. So I think most folks can recognize that title. The next movie is The Last Picture Show. 8 nominations, 2 wins. They win for Best Supporting Actor and Actress. This is like a coming of age sort of drama. I feel like I've heard of it, but I might be confusing it with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So who knows? I'm assuming a different movie. And then we get, of course, we have to have a period historical drama, right? So the last movie is Nicholas and Alexandra, which is sort of about like Russian czars. And it has 6 nominations, 2 wins. It wins in art direction and costuming. So really the French Connection is the big movie of the night. It had 8 nominations. So tied with Fiddler on the Roof and Last Picture Show. But it takes home 5 wins, so the most of any film. This night, of course, wins a Best Picture. William Friedkin does take home Best Director. Congrats, Will. Our Santa himself, Gene Hackman, does take home the Best Actor Oscar.
Good.
And it wins for Adapted Screenplay and Film Editing. And it loses in the Supporting Actor category. So our man Cloudy was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but does not win. And then they lose in Cinematography and Sound.
I wonder if they lost cinematography solely because their blood was completely unbelievable.
It has to be.
It has to be.
You didn't show us the actual subway crash, so the visual effects were not there for us. But not a whole lot of significance happened at this Academy Awards. It was definitely noted that there were, Fiddler on the Roof being an example, but there was seemingly a more intentional consideration for more Black films and for Black actors to be nominated and to be recognized for their accomplishments. And Isaac Hayes is the first Black person to win for Best Music or win a music Oscar. And so that was notable. And then the other thing I found was that they gave out an honorary award to Charlie Chaplin this night, and things were pretty tumultuous for Charlie Chaplin in the 20 years before this, and I had to look into it because I don't know a lot about Charlie Chaplin, but around the 50s, he's accused of being a communist, and it really kind of ruined his reputation, ruined his career, his popularity. Everything went down the crapper, and due to circumstances, he isolated himself out of the United States and was like living in Switzerland in total isolation for 20 years, and shows up here to receive this honorary award for his achievements. I think trying to sort of reintroduce the world to Charlie Chaplin and recognize him for his contributions to the entertainment field and to what he did. And so he was there in person and received a 12-minute standing ovation, which is the longest ovation in Oscars history. Yeah.
12 minutes?
12 minutes.
That's on Charlie. I feel like if you reserve a standing ovation, which I have before, I think you have to like, as the receiver of the standing ovation, you have to like
call it.
You say no, and you kind of you definitely tell your crowd sit down, But Charlie definitely stood up there and just didn't give any 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
That is a very, very long time.
That's longer than the chase scene in The French Connection. So
yes, and we after the chase scene, we're like, how long was that?
Right.
Oh my gosh! That's longer than sometimes it takes me to eat a meal. You know?
That's like 2 SpongeBobs.
That's a whole SpongeBob.
That's a whole SpongeBob.
No, 12 minutes is way too long. You have a responsibility as a receiver of a standing ovation to tell them when they can sit down. Wow. I don't know.
Right.
I don't like that.
Carly, famous Charlie Chaplin hater.
Yeah. And I never thought I'd dislike anyone with a CC initial because I'm a huge fan of those. But Charlie Chaplin is the one I don't like.
Don't call her Carly Chaplin. She will not accept that.
No.
So, lastly, before I turn it over to you, Carly, I mentioned maybe 2 podcast episodes ago that there are Rotten Tomato scores for Academy Awards. And I didn't think about it for Cavalcade, but I did look into this. And the earliest that Rotten Tomatoes has it is with the 50th Academy Awards. So we are still a little too early, but from the 50th onwards, there is Rotten Tomato scores, and I will make sure to just include it as like a fun little tidbit. But we do not have a Rotten Tomato score for this Oscars, but just want to let you know I'm doing that in the future. We're getting there. So, all right, Carly. Well, which male actors have you chosen to done a deeper dive on?
First of all, I wanted to say something that you had mentioned earlier is that this movie is based on a real life case.
Yes.
And it involved 2 detectives named Eddie Egan and Sonny Grosso. Eddie Egan is Popeye and Sonny Grosso is Cloudy. And both of them were in this film. So very cool. As you had said, Eddie Egan, Popeye, was their boss, the one who was basically telling them, like, you gotta do something soon or you wasted all of our time. That was Eddie Egan, the OG Popeye. And then the surviving detective Klein, that is Sonny Grosso, the OG Cloudy.
I just wonder, they must not have been just like great actors. Like they must have just been like, we need to have some like professional actor. Like they couldn't play themselves, but they still gave them roles in the movies of like lesser speaking, I guess.
Right. Well, and it's interesting too. If you look up Eddie Egan or Sonny Grosso, like on their pages, it says that they were detectives, actors, producers. So it's like, I don't know. I don't know if this like started this new career for them or if just because they were in this one film, I didn't look too deeply, but just because they were in this one film, maybe they gave them a producer credit for, I'm sure they gave a lot of context and contributions to the plot. But yeah, it's cool that they were in it. This story is about them and a real life bust they made of, I read, about 97 pounds of heroin. Wow. And that is pretty cool. Yeah. Not the heroin, but the fact that they made this big bust. And the actual, the Elaine person is based on a guy named Jean Jehan, and he is French, so that was correct. And Jean Jehan, he fled to Paris, so they really didn't find him after the actual thing. He fled to Montreal, then to Paris. So he must have just, kept running north, went to Paris, and they found him in Paris eventually, but Paris at the time did not extradite people. So he continued to live his life and got away with it. Congratulations to him. And he got a lot of money. So I guess the Boca brothers are based on 2 guys, the Fuca brothers in real life. And they both went to jail for 15 years in real life. Okay. So they both went to jail, and they said that Jean Jehan fled with about $500,000.
That's wild.
I know, it's wild. And that's really what happened. So sometimes the bad guys just get away, I think. I did look into Gene Hackman, and he very big actor. The one thing I knew him from, and I don't know if there's something that resonates with you when you think of Gene Hackman other than his bizarre death in 2025, but I don't know. Are there any movies that stand out with him for you?
Nothing really comes to mind. It feels like a household name. Like it just feels like a name that I grew up and like knew and like, oh, that's an actor whose name I recognize and whose face I could recognize, like even in this film. But yeah, I can't say, you would have to like rattle off titles and be like, oh yeah, he was in that. But yeah, nothing really comes to mind. But yeah, it feels like a household name, somebody that like has been famous and well known for a long time. Yeah,
and I think his longevity, his career is why he's such a well-known name. I grew up watching this movie with my family. You probably never seen it because it's about sports, called The Replacements, and he's a huge character in that, so that's where I knew him from. But over his time, he was he got 5 Oscar nominations. This was his first Oscar he won. He won one more for a movie we'll watch later called The Unforgiven, so he was in that won the Oscar for that as well. Okay. And that was the movie, I believe, that's like your birth night. Yes, my birth night. Thank you. That's exactly so sexy that you remembered. But yes, so he was being awarded his award basically as I was coming into the world. So big night for both of us.
Congrats to you too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, so as I said a second ago, Gene Hackman's death really took the world by storm.
Yes.
His longtime wife, a classical pianist named Betsy Aracana, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they were both found in their home deceased along with their dog.
Yes.
And apparently they had been there for about 2 weeks deceased and nobody knew. And they found them in very poor shape. And it was thought after like the investigation and stuff, it was believed that Gene's wife died. And Gene was in such bad shape, he had Alzheimer's, and he was in such bad shape that he didn't recognize what was happening. And his wife was his main caretaker, did pretty much everything for him. So it's believed that about a week later, Gene also died, and then his dog at some point too. So just this very bizarre death.
Yeah.
Very, very sad. I remember everyone talking about it. It was like, I'm sure you do too. But yeah, that was in February 2025, so about a year ago. So that's when you look up Gene Hackman, that's like the first thing now that comes up, which is kind of a big bummer considering his huge career.
No, it's very sad.
And then Roy Scheider plays Cloudy.
Mm-hmm.
And he really is not known for a lot. He's really not in this movie too much. He's a big part because he's the counterpart to Popeye, but he's not in this movie a whole lot. The only thing that he is well known for, that I feel like is well known to at least me and probably our listeners, is Jaws. He was in all 3 of the Jaws movies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I should watch those.
He was the police chief in there. So I don't know if in Jaws, I never watched Jaws 3, so I don't know if he has a bad ending or not, but he continues to try to find that shark. And then he was he was the big star of a movie in 1979, All That Jazz. He was nominated for a bunch of stuff. So I think that's really his big claim to fame, was starring in that. He's like the one big person billed on the front of that movie, All That Jazz. So I did look into the Santa Claus suit, which we already talked about. And then I did look into the French Connection 2. Two French, Two Connection. And just kind of to see what the plot of that was.
Yeah.
So it really picks up 4 years later. Popeye, it's just Popeye. So Cloudy's not in this movie.
Dang.
Popeye is in Marseille. Apparently it's not for this, but he runs into Elaine. So Elaine is in it. And they really just have this cat and mouse chase all throughout Marseille.
Wow.
There's like a lot of drug involvement. And at one point, I guess Elaine captures Popeye and shoots him up with a bunch of heroin and then lets him go. And then like a big part of the movie is him overcoming this sudden addiction to heroin. And
wow.
Yeah, so that was so drugs are a bigger part of this movie. Of course, obviously. And then in the end, do you want me to spoil the movie for you and tell you what happens?
Yeah.
Of course you do. Of course you do. So in the end, Doyle does kill Elaine.
Wow.
And we get the ending that we maybe wish we would have heard more about.
Yes.
But obviously in real life that didn't happen. But I think probably for audiences, they wanted more. And Hollywood was like, all right, let's ride this train as much as we can. And Gene Hackman was like, okay, let's do it. And that's how it ended. So
interesting.
It did say on the Wikipedia page that it's on a lot of lists as one of the best film sequels of all time. It was like in the top 20 of many, many lists of film sequels.
That's kind of surprising.
Sequels aren't always. Yeah, that's really all I looked into.
Okay, we did it.
Okay, cool.
We connected. We did not French, but we did the French connection.
Right. No French, yes connection.
Yeah.
And it was good. I think I enjoyed the detective and the fast pace of it all, which we don't always get in these. It's always a lot of we get a lot of thinkers and dialogue heavy things, whereas this was a lot of action,
Yeah, and it just feels like the right time, just given the movies we've covered thus far. This felt like a good time. We needed to zag instead of zig,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy that we watched it, and I mean overall I think it was a fun time. And I wish I liked it more. I wish I loved it as much as the film bros probably do, but overall I'm happy that it's on the list and that we got to watch it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of movies I do really love, let's maybe reveal our next movie, which is a movie that I think we both seen. I think I made you watch this.
Yeah, we watched it together already.
Yeah, you might have fallen asleep though. I can't remember, but
no, I did not. But you definitely made me watch it. It was like we're gonna watch this movie tonight, and we did.
Well, let's drum roll. We're doing Moonlight.
Yay! The happy film Moonlight.
Yeah, which nearly did not win Best Picture. This will be the infamous La La Land debacle. So, and this is the time in which Carly and I knew each other, and like I think this will be fun to dive in. Maybe we'll feature a guest or two. Who knows? Yeah, this is a movie that feels important to me. Not to spoil too much of our next episode, but I am excited to do this one. So, and revisit this period in our lives, Carly, 10 years ago. So.
Right. Yeah, and the whole controversy of it will be fun to talk about as well.
Well, yeah, we'll have to do like a La La Land little spotlight. Like we owe it to it. So.
For sure.
Yeah.
Especially because La La Land is a big part of our friendship as well.
It is. Yeah.
We'll talk all about it in a couple weeks.
All right. Well, Carly, as always, love you.
Brad, love you. Bye.
Bye.